Very good race, Jules.
Finally, we have a point.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Jules Bianchi Tribute Career Mode. In this episode, we're going to be taking on one of the most historic tracks on the F1 calendar, that is Monaco. Now, a disclaimer before I start, I did use a lot of flashbacks in this race. I do not like this race whatsoever when I'm playing the video games, and I'm not the best driver in the world, so apologies for all the flashbacks. I might actually put up a flashback counter you might see later on in this video. So without further ado, let us begin this race.
It's race day here in Monaco, and a circuit that requires real driver skill as well as concentration. Last night the Monte Carlo streets were full of revellers. Today they're cleared and ready for racing. We're nearly ready for the start of today's race, but in the meantime, let's take a look at the grid.
So we are starting from 19th place on the grid this time around. This is what the top 10 looks like. The McLaren's getting in there with the Ferraris at the lower reach to the top 10. The two Williams on the third row, the two Red Bulls on the second row, and the Mercedes occupying the front row. Alright, let's look at the strategy for today's race. Shout out to Satan185 for the suggestion from the previous video in the race in Spain to start on the prime tyre this time around, so that we will come in on lap number 11 for the option tyres, and hopefully we'll have the tyre advantage towards the end of the race so we can pass some cars at the end.
Try for at least 6th in today's race.
That might be a bit ambitious, but we're going to try our best to achieve it. We are underway in Monaco. You can see on the right hand side we've got a flashback counter graphic. That will come in very handy for this particular race. It's here exclusively for the Monaco Grand Prix as we cut into Satin de Vaux, and we've gone past several cars into 14th position ahead of the Toro Rosso of Jean-Eric Vergne and just behind the 14 of Sergio Perez. Getting quite a bit of time on the cars in front into Casino Square and Massenet. Have a look around the outside of Perez, but there's not enough room as we come into the end of the first sector. Going down the inside of Perez into Mirabeau, but I lose a little bit of time because of the cars braking in front, because of the Constantino effect, and Perez is able to get back up, down our inside into the Lowe's hairpin. Perez makes a little bit of contact with the Toro Rosso there. I don't know if that's caused any damage to Kvyat, but we're going to try and stay out of trouble here and wait for any opportunities that come across. Now you'll notice that I'm not making the progress that I normally make on the first lap. That's primarily because it's Monaco and I don't really want to hit anything and cause any flashbacks. So as we cut into the chicane, we're still behind Perez in 14th position, and you're going to see the first of our flashbacks. We're going to go into Tabac corner, just understeer wide, and we lose the front wing. Apologies, I meant to say damage the front wing, not lose the front wing. We're going to Tabac for the second time of asking, and we managed to make the corner this time around. Going into the final sector, we're going to try and close in on Perez, but I've misjudged the braking point completely, and I just cut the chicane. I'm very surprised I didn't get a penalty or even a warning for that. I don't know what was happening there as we come out of Rascasse into Anthony Nose. We lost a lot of time going out of that corner, so we're not able to be right on Perez's gearbox going into the first corner, which could have been a possible overtake. We're going to go into Satin de Vaux now, and no, we've just misjudged the braking. So we're going to try the start of lap 2 again after using that flashback, increasing the flashback counter to 2. Going into Satin de Vaux, we once again hit the wall, but this time we get away with it with no damage whatsoever. So we're able to keep in pursuit of the Force India in front of us, which is Sergio Perez. Looks like he's stuck behind the Toro Rosso. It's probably Kvyat, considering Vergne is behind us on circuit. Coming up to Mirabeau now, we're going to try and do a similar move to what we did on Perez in the first lap. This time we're going to force him wide into Mirabeau to show he has absolutely no chance of overtaking us into the Lowe's hairpin, and we're up into 13th place. We now cut to one lap later. We've now caught up to Daniil Kvyat, who's the next car in front of us. Going into Casino Square / Massenet now. We once again get good drive off the corner. It looks like we're going to do a similar move to what we did on Perez. Yes, we do. We're going to Mirabeau, forcing him a little bit wide and ensuring we take 12th place. We now cut to the end of lap number 4. We've caught up to the back of the second Force India of Nico Hulkenberg, as we get into the DRS range of the Force India, but because of the Force India's Mercedes power, he's able to pull away from us on the straight so that we're unable to make a move into the first corner, Sandevot. We've got a pretty good drive off Sandevot, and we seem to look to have a move down the outside or inside, but the track is quite narrow at this point. But we do make a bit of contact with the Force India as we go right around the outside of Hulkenberg to take the inside line into Massenet, and we are up into 11th place prior to the start of the second sector. We now cut to the midway point of the lap after the chicane. We're going to go into back corner now, chasing after the McLaren of Jenson Button as we head into the 2 chicanes to the start of sector 3. You're going to notice, once again, I make another mistake. I hit the wall coming out the chicane. I think I've got away with it. My engineer then tells me I've got front wing damage. So we'll try this again. I don't end up making contact. We are going to cut to a later point in the lap, because I don't think it's necessary to show you that point. And I promise you there will be no more flashbacks during this race. Damn it. So yeah, I spoke too soon there, and I did have another flashback as we go into Casino Square / Massenet at the start of lap number 6. But I absolutely promise you there's no more flashbacks this race. Oh wonderful, I've made another mistake. So we are back at the end of lap number 6 for the second time around. We're now right behind Jenson Button as we go into La Rascasse and Antonios for the second time around. Well, I make the same mistake twice. So let's see if third time is the charm after using 2 flashbacks from the same place. Go around Rascasse for the third time and around Antonios for the third time. We actually get round the corner this time without making any contact with the wall whatsoever. So now let's listen to engineers to start lap number 7.
By around 1 second per lap. You're pulling out a lead over Hulkenberg. He's a second a lap slower than you.
So you notice there that I did make contact with the wall at Sandevot, but I got away with it as we close in on Jenson Button by around a second a lap. I'm going to go into Casino Square, but I make another mistake here, hitting the wall twice. Another point to the flashback counter. I think this is turning into an episode of Cinema Sins at this rate. The amount of times I've had to hit that ding button every time I've hit the wall or had to use a flashback. Anyways, we're going to cut to the midway point of lap number 7. You're going to hear something very interesting.
Box, box, box.
Yes, so my engineer is asking me to go into the pits. But my pit stop isn't until lap 11. I don't understand why my engineer is asking me to go into the pits right now. I've got the prime tyres on, and I don't understand what's going on. We're going to cut to the midway point of lap number 8. We're now going to ensure that the option tyres are put on for our pit stop to ensure there's no glitches or anything like that. As we're now going to cut to the midway point of lap number 9. We're closing in on Jenson Button as we have been doing, but not as fast as what we used to be doing. Now we're going to cut to Rascasse, but we've messed up the braking completely. So let's try that again at the end of lap number 9. Can we get round the corner this time? Yes, we do. And as you see, there's a couple of cars that have come into the pits. The engineers are asking me to come into the pits now, even though I've said on my strategy that I want to go on to lap number 11. Let's use this overcut to our advantage, the clear track, combined with some AI possibly struggling with new tyres on their outlap. So let's see what happens as we come up to Casino Square for the 10th time for lap number 10. We're going to go into Casino Square, try and close in on Jenson Button. Look what happens here. Yes, that's right. To quote Kimi Räikkönen, I hit the wall again. So we've now got up to 9 flashbacks as we come through Casino Square / Massenet for the second time on lap number 10. Don't hit the wall this time. We go a little bit wider going into the corner to ensure we make 0 contact with the wall. We're now pretty close to Jenson Button. I think we're under a second behind, or just over a second behind Jenson Button as we come into the Lowe's hairpin. He's just behind. I'm not 100% sure who's behind, but he's getting a little bit held up. I think that's his teammate, Magnussen, in front. As you can see, we're now up into 6th place. We're going into Portier now. And I've found another place to make a mistake. We've lost the front wing, and that's another flashback. We're now going to carry on into Lowe's hairpin for the second time around, but we've made another mistake. So we're going to go into Lowe's hairpin for the third time around. We take a lot of the curb this time, and we just about avoid the wall this time around. Despite having a bit of a compromising entry into the corner as we head into Portier, we avoid contact with the wall this time as we head into the tunnel. We are now going to cut to the end of lap number 10, where the remainder of the drivers on their option tyres will be making the pit stops. As you can see, that's Jenson Button heading into the pits. So we're going to try and push as hard as we can to try and make this overcut work. As you can see, we've moved up into 3rd position for now, going into the start of lap number 11. We're going to push as hard as we can, but we've misjudged the braking point into Sandevot. Alright, let's see if we can try and do this again. Let's see if we can actually make the corner this time around. Once again, we're going to make exactly the same mistake, going straight into the wall. So let's try for the third time. We're going to make a different approach this time to Sandoval. We're going to try and cut as much of the curb as possible to ensure we get good exit and not hit the wall. We now cut to the end of the lap. I've lost all words right now, to be honest. I just keep making the same mistakes over and over. It's really starting to frustrate me. Anyways, we're going to cut to the end of lap 11. I make no more mistakes as we go into the pit lane. I do make a little bit of contact as we head into the pits for our only pit stop of the day as we go onto the option tyres, and hopefully this tyre will give us a good advantage to the cars in front and be able to make a couple of overtakes towards the end of the race. The pit stop is good. Let's see where we feed out. So we're off the speed limit now. We're down to P7, so it looks like we've made up several positions here. Look, we're going to look behind us as we come out of the pits. That is Magnussen behind us. We have jumped several cars thanks to the overcut. That is worked a treat. Thank you very much, Saturn185, for the suggestion on the strategy. Now we're going to cut to the middle of lap number 13. We're coming up to the Ferrari of Kimi Räikkönen as we go into Portier for the 13th time. But I'm going to make another mistake here. Apologies once again. That's just me being clumsy. We're going to flashback that. Once again, we're up to 15 flashbacks already. Going into Portier, we avoid contact with the wall as we head into the tunnel. And now we're off in pursuit of the Ferrari. We're now going to cut to the end of lap number 13. We're not just quite in the DRS zone of the Ferrari, but we're going to go into rich fuel mix though. Try and close the gap. So as you heard there, we are closing the gap on Räikkönen by around a second a lap due to the option tyres combined with the fast fuel mix that we've now entered. We're now right behind the Ferrari going into Portier and into the tunnel. We possibly could make an overtake as we go into the chicane coming out of the tunnel. It would be the first time we have overtaken someone during this race down this corner. So we're pretty close to the Ferrari. We've got the same power unit. We're going to go down the inside of Räikkönen here. Quite an ambitious move. We make no contact though. I keep it absolutely clean and we are up into 6th position. Now off in pursuit of Sebastian Vettel. Cutting to the end of lap number 15. But I've messed up Raskas again. Apologies once again for messing up there and using a flashback as we go into Raskas for the second time on lap number 15. We avoid parking the car this time as we go onto the start-finish straight to start lap number 16. We now cut one lap later.
Closing in on Vettel by around 1 second per lap.
So as you heard from the engineer, I am closing the gap on Vettel by around a second per lap. And now we're going to cut to the next lap along. We're right behind the Red Bull this time. Look to try and make a move around Casino Square Massey, but there's not enough room and Vettel shuts the door. So probably going to have to we're going to make a move into Mirabeau, like we've done on Perez, like we did on Kvyat. We've done so. We've secured the inside line into the corner to ensure we've maintained the 5th position as we go into the hairpin. Cutting to the end of the lap, we're now right behind the Williams of Felipe Massa as we come out of Raskas into the final corner to start lap 19. So for the second time, we're going to cut to the end of lap number 18 after using the flashback. We're right behind the Williams of Felipe Massa as we go into the final corner. We avoid contact with the wall this time. We're also in the DRS zone of the Williams in front. We've got a poor drive out the corner, so we're unable to make a move into Sandoval. We're now coming into the Sandoval now. We've gone straight on though. And that is another flashback. We're now cut to the start of lap 19 once again. We're going to see if we can actually try and make the corner this time, which we do. We cut quite a bit of the curb though, so I'm not sure if that's a corner cut or not, but I'll let the viewers decide whether it is a corner cut or not. We're going to be right behind the Williams of Massa, who looks to be held up by Daniel Ricciardo in front of us. We've got good drive out the corner. We could overtake Massa prior to Mirabeau, which we have done. We're down the inside and we're up into 4th place. We are now on the final lap of the race. We are right behind the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo, who's trying to make his car as wide as possible to ensure he gets a podium finish for the first time this season. We're going to try and go down the inside of the mirror. He looked as if to try and cover the inside after what we've done in the previous couple of laps with overtakes. I think he's hit the wall though as we went down the inside, because Massa's now in 4th place on the final lap as we cut to the final corner onto the start finish straight for the final time. We're going to get a very surprising podium here. I was very shocked that I was able to get this far up the grid after my terrible start, but I will take this result from this race.
Mercedes have won today's race, and what a result for the team. Niki Lauda rightly called it as one of the drives of the season.
Confirmation of the results of today's race. It's a 1-2 for Mercedes with Hamilton in first, Rosberg in second, myself in third, Massa fourth, Vettel fifth, Raikkonen up to sixth, Ricciardo all the way down in seventh, so he must have had some sort of problem there, must have hit the wall and damaged the front wing or something like that. Magnussen was in eighth, Bottas in ninth, and Jenson Button down in 10th, taking the final points. There were actually no retirements in this race, particularly at Monaco, with Max Chilton finishing in front of a Sauber there. That's very helpful for him, a good result for him in 20th place. We now cut to the Drivers' Championship. We still occupy that second position there, in splitting the two Mercedes. Sebastian Vettel moves in front of his teammate Daniel Ricciardo into 4th place, and Kevin Magnussen moves up into 11th, seen as the only other movers in the top 12 of the championship. We are now going to cut to the Constructors' Championship. You see there, Marussia are still in 3rd place. I think we've gained a little bit of ground on Red Bull there, so we could end up in 2nd place at some point. There's no changes anywhere else. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really apologise for the number of flashbacks that I used in this race. But if you've liked what you've seen, please like, comment and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next race in North America, in Canada.